Now, if a woman is not at least slightly intimidated by you, then the probability that she's going to respect you is very little. And one thing that I think a lot of godly men have an issue with, specifically attractive godly men, is that they know that they have values, they have principles, and they're going to abide by those principles and God's laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of their ability. And a lot of women will react or respond to one of two ways when you can see through their facade and you just choose not to pursue them, which will usually occur in one of two ways, right? So it's number one, she'll either persist and persist and persist until she rage quits, or number two is that she will literally never give up because she cannot handle feeling like she's not good enough. And so she's going to feel as though she has to restore any sense of loss pride by getting you. And at that point, it's really not a good situation, really on either side. And we have to recognize as men why this is. We have to recognize that we don't need to treat women as less than per se, just because we can recognize who they are and what they are and the deceptive creatures that they truly are. But it doesn't mean that we have to, put up with them and hate them nonetheless. I mean, we don't really need to do those options. Women are just meant to be enjoyed. It's a lot like life. And when it comes to life, if you take it too seriously, you're going to put yourself in a terrible situation. And I've been pondering today the physics of finance because we have a Art of War finance class coming up in the Regal Change Academy. And I was pondering the physics of finance because I thought about how, well, if you can apply physics to finance and physics to other domains of life like relationships, I wonder what that would look like exactly, and why is it the case that when you have, let's say, options, so to speak, all of a sudden all of these women start popping up out of nowhere? Well, if you think about it, the more mass that you have, the more objects around you are going to be gravitating toward you. So it's like with finances, when you have more assets, you're going to be able to accumulate more assets because assets literally give the ability and give way to more assets because that's what you're actually building who you are and the density of who you are through your mass, spiritually speaking, right? And it's going to be the same type of thing with these relationships with women. And I think that a lot of godly people don't understand. They're either hyper fixated on trying to get women to the point in which it robs them of themselves, or they know how to get women and they just cannot find a woman that's not promiscuous. Like, it's just, usually it's one of those two options. And I would wager that most of the men on this channel, I would reckon, that are attractive, godly men, they know and understand that we are in a dire situation in the dating market. It is a truly grotesque market, quite simply and plainly. And it's not that we are intimidating per se. It's more like women are intimidated by our own standards. They're intimidated by our own proclivity to do what is right. Because I was also thinking about this today as well. I don't think women feel guilt. I don't think they do. I don't really remember the last time I've really heard a woman explain what it feels like to be guilty. Because they, like, I was wondering, why do they avoid accountability so much? Like, let's try to understand this emotional, irrational creature for what it is. The reason, and who she is, because the reason that women, and let's say woman herself, woman as an archetype, if woman herself avoids accountability, She's the one that is going to fall first in paradise. Not even paradise is going to be enough for Eve, right? Not even paradise is enough for woman herself. Then what exactly is that? Why is it the case that she is more prone to the dark arts? She's more prone to the dark side of the force, let's say. What exactly is that? Well, it's because she doesn't really feel guilt for doing these things. She only doesn't do them for the sake of not feeling the shame afterward. And that was really revelationatory. I don't know what the term is exactly. It was a revelation of sorts, but it was a form of experience, if you will. And so I would concur with myself then that due to this fact that women are not capable of guilt in the same way that men are, this is one of the reasons why men make better leaders. This is one of the reasons why God commanded us as men to lead Eve, because woman, in all of her beauty and for all she's created to be, I genuinely think that woman herself, as an archetype, let's say, the eternal image of the feminine energy, is one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful thing that God has ever created. But with that beauty comes a price. And yeah, they might be the most beautiful, but they're definitely not the most, at least aesthetically. I think there's nothing more truly beautiful than a godly man who is actually carrying out his purpose. And he's dedicated himself, his mind, his body, his soul to excellence. I don't think there's anything truly more beautiful than that, because that is literally the image of a god to some degree. And I'm not saying that we are to be pagan here. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it is the essence of godliness to be a man who has fulfilled himself and is doing God's will. There's nothing more righteous than that. But there's not, and there's a certain kind of beauty to that there isn't with women, and vice versa. There's a certain kind of beauty that women hold that men don't. And so I think this is what it is. Women will be afraid of rejection or intimidated by you, or think that if you're an attractive, godly man, well, surely you can't be actually godly. Surely you can't actually commit. Surely you're just going to cheat like every other guy, type of thing. Like, this is what they think in their heads. And it's crazy because women themselves are their own worst enemies when it comes to relationships. And this is also one of the reasons why you'll hear women be so shameless. They want to not be shamed. And they want to be free, right? Well, they want to have all of these fun activities, up until the last moment, until they have no other option but to choose that good option now. And even then, it's not a good option. They ought to have chosen that option younger, but then even then, you look at these tradcon wives on, quote unquote, on YouTube or X or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and you look at these women who are supposedly traditional. And I know without the shadow of a doubt, I've seen that exact type of spirit in women in my own community before. I don't exactly know what to call it. It's not a Jezebel type of energy. It's more of a, this is what I think a lot of men don't want to admit to themselves, is that all women are capable of gaslighting. It's just a matter of, just as much as any other man. And we as men, we just perceive women psychologically in our own minds to be more pure and innocent than they really are, by a long shot, especially because of the way that our society's brought us up. And so women, especially if they like you, they want to be perceived as the most innocent. They want to be perceived as the most, pure. And you might even notice that women, when you talk to them as an attractive, godly man, that they're almost startled that you would even talk to them. And yet at the same time, they're ecstatic. They are on cloud nine, but they don't know what to make of it exactly. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to handle your own energy, because your own energy, you are the circumstance. You are the person that is creating the environment. You're curating the environment because you are the acting impact on the environment. You're not just willy-dilly daddling around. You actually have a purpose. You actually have a mission. You're actually there. And I think that that's something that you bring a certain depth that women just, for the most part, will never be capable of bringing. I've met very few women who are actually capable of true intellectual, how do I say this? I don't want to call them adventures, but let's call them adventures. I've met very few women that are truly capable of intellectual and philosophical and spiritual adventures in the mind. They're very, very callous, and they're very, very superficial, most of them. And it's not to say that men aren't either. It's just that women have this reputation. I'm not trying to rat on women or just rip women to shreds. I'm simply giving the truth about the situation, because we all know the truth about men. Like, everybody knows that men can be dogs. Everybody knows men can do this and men can do that. Everybody knows. But not enough people talk about what women are capable of. And especially when you're an attractive, godly man and you have women that are willing to leave their husbands or leave their boyfriends or whatever. I've thought a lot about this recently. I don't think I ever want a girlfriend. We're going to be either pursuing marriage or we're not. It's just going to be that simple. I don't want to be your boyfriend, and I don't want you to be my girlfriend. We're either going to go full-fledged into this spiritual marriage, because I'm not getting married with the state involved, at least for the time being. It's going to take some serious convincing on her end or somebody else's end to convince me to get married in the modern day and age. Legally, that is. Spiritually, no doubt. I will be loyal. I will be committed. There's no doubt in my mind. But legally, no thanks. The government is not going to be controlling what I do with my balls. And it's not going to be controlling how I dictate my money and everything of the sort. It's not going to do that. I refuse to let the government tell me how I need to distribute my resources. Unless I'm absolutely, because I hate taxes. I think everybody hates taxes. I don't know anybody in America anyway that's not like, yeah, we less taxes are bad. I don't know anybody that talks like that. So anyway, the point really here is that I don't see the reason to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend relationship anymore. I really don't. And for because it's like, well, what are you doing exactly? And I think as a man, if you know what you want and you're leading the relationship, the woman, she's either going to be on board or she's not. And it's going to be up to you to decide how you want to go about that. But spiritually speaking, this is a commitment, and being married spiritually, well, maybe for people that maybe don't know, according to the Corinthians in the Bible, it talks about how the consummation of marriage is sex. So when you commit an act of sex with someone else, you are spiritually married to that person. This is why it's so terrible for women and for men, but more so for women, to go from guy to guy to guy, or for guys, go from woman to woman to woman. I would sooner rather have 5 wives than sleep around with 5 women. No. I would just rather have them be my wives. And the reason for that is because, well, then they would be able to have their sisterhood, and they get their time with me, and I'll take care of them, I'll protect them, I'll provide for them. But I'm not going to do just random hookups or have like a side chick or anything like that. There's never going to be a time in my life where I see that that's plausible. And women do sense this about you, I think. If you have the similar kind of mindset as I do, women will sense this about you. They'll just know that something is different. They might not know exactly what it is, but they will know that something is different about you. And this is where you as a man, you have to really just harness your own capacity for being and determine what it is you want to do with your life. Do you want to do this with your life, or do you want to do that with your life? You know, for me personally, this is just a recent phenomenon in which I've discovered I really don't care to have a girlfriend, ever. Having a girlfriend, I think, is part of the feminist and whatever movement. Did you ever hear about, like, let's say in the 1800s or in the 1700s, people basically were dating for marriage, and they were just going to get married. Actually, they didn't even really date, right? They just went straight to marriage because it was a duty and obligation to survive, or they had affairs. Okay, nowadays people want to have like a comfort label. That's what it is. They want to have a comforting label, like, oh yeah, we're boyfriend, girlfriend. And then meanwhile, you see cheating is at an all-time high. You see nobody's loyal in their relationships. We see divorce constantly. Marriage isn't treated as sacred anymore. And I think this is another reason why women, if they know that you're a godly man, but you're also attractive, and you just stand on your square, you're going to be even more intimidating to them. You're not intimidating, you're just making them feel intimidated. And I think that's an important distinction. But overall, I think I said everything I wanted to say in this video. I hope that this video was useful and insightful for you. All right, be on your purpose. Don't try to figure out what your purpose is. Just start being in your purpose. That's really the best thing that I can give as far as like a perspective of life. In my book, I call them PIMS. My book of oldishness. The PIMS, portrayals in mind. That's what I call them. So the better that you change these portrayals in your mind, the better your thought algorithms. And the better your thought algorithms, the more important it's going to be for you to actually discern what's what and why's what. And why's why when it comes to your relationships. Because life is about relationships. Okay, it is about relationships. And that's one of the reasons why I insist so heavy for people that do enjoy this content to check out the Godlike Master Initiation program that I have. Check out the one-on-one mentorship. We now have the Regal Change Academy for free to enroll, okay? If you do want to join the group calls and the classes, yes, there's going to be a payment plan, but, and it's a paywall rather, but still, hello, like you have the opportunity to be around godlike people. And I know everybody out there that's watching this, if you're actually a godly person, I know in your heart you feel like you're lonely. I know it because I've been there. And now you have the opportunity to be around godlike people, and you're not taking advantage of it. You know, who is that on? It's not on us, it's on you. All right, we are pioneers in the cyberspace. We're pioneering this thing. And so I hope to see you in the cyberspace realm, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Stay blessed. Peace. Until next time.